Story 1. I went to a funeral that was supposed to be a wedding. VC_RAW_CSS_animation equals RAW_type equals RAW_use_row_as_full_skur and_section equals no type equals full_width tangled_section equals no text _align equals left background _image as_pattern equals without _pattern VC_column VC_column_text. I was supposed to be at my friend's wedding this weekend, and the thing is, maybe I was there, only I'm pretty sure it was canceled. I went to the bride's funeral. But let me back up. I knew both Alden and Petra from college. They met in Intro to Shakespeare, sophomore year, and hit it off immediately. They were both dramatic types, so their relationship was pretty entertaining for all of us. You know the type one mean, right? Nothing was ever middle of the road. Things were always either fantastic or ruined. Nothing in between. I guess not everyone finds that stuff entertaining, because a bunch of folks cycled in and out of our circle of friends. But I thought it was like a live-action soap opera, and I loved it. They broke up maybe a half-dozen times before graduation, always with tears and slam doors and handwritten notes proclaiming Betra, y'all, but they got back together a half-dozen times, too. And when we were all throwing our caps in the air, they had their arms around each other, smiling and laughing and swearing to us 10 their lives together after graduation. I moved out of town, and Petra moved in with Alden. I would have thought that moving in together, where they were going to be in close proximity all the time, would have doomed them. Maybe not having an audience for their drama calmed them down, though, or maybe I just heard about it less. I don't know. We still kept in touch online, of course, but it's not the same as having someone right down the hall in the dorm. As far as I could tell, they both calmed down and were doing great together. Alden proposed to Petra on the first anniversary of our college graduation in this big display. It was super cute. He took her to the movies and got them to play the proposal right before the trailers. The whole theater clapped. Petra cried. It was great. I saw the video afterward, so I got my wedding invitation a few months later, and obviously I was coming back for that. Teacher was posting about wedding stuff on Facebook and Insta all the time, and it seemed like she was going a little bit Britizilla. Alden was mainly quiet about it, but he'd post pictures occasionally too. It's not like he wasn't involved or excited about it, just that next to Petra, he seemed more reserved. Making Alden look reserved was no small feat, but Petra was clearly going above and beyond. I was pretty pumped for the wedding myself. Alden and Petra were the first of my college friends getting married, which was cool all by itself. It also meant that basically everyone was coming back for their ceremony, so it was going to be a little mini reunion. Honestly, even Alden I'd only seen in person once since graduating, and he and I used to be really close. I'd meant to go see people more of 10, but time slips away, you know, so I came into town early. At the beginning of last week, I figure I'd catch up on the old hangouts, see people individually as they came into town, and then cap it all off with the wedding on Sunday. Obviously, I went to go see Alden and Petra first. I knew they wouldn't have a lot of time, but I wanted to say hi. I was shocked by how Petra looked. She was always thin in college, but like graceful, willowy thin. Now she looked drawn, even frail. I gave her a big hug and tried to hide my initial reaction, but she clearly noticed, so I done. "Tea looks so good, huh?" she asked dryly. "No, I mean, you look great. Just you doing okay?" "Yeah, I'll be fine. Just came down with something a couple of weeks ago. I'm mainly just ticked off that I'm going to be sick at my wedding. Little makeup, you'll be fine," I told her. She smiled, and even through the illness she looked radiant. "I'm not worried about it. Nothing's taking his day away from me." That was Monday. On Wednesday, I got the news that Teacher had been rushed to the hospital. She collapsed at dinner. They said she'd been coughing up blood. She was unresponsive when they got her to the hospital. She hung in there for most of a day, getting steadily weaker. I stopped by in the middle of the day to see her. Alden was there, holding her limp hand. He looked like he'd be in there all night. "How's she doing?" I asked. "Not good. They don't know what's wrong. Nothing's working. I think I'm afraid." His voice broke, and he clutched her hand. For a moment, composing himself. "I'm afraid I'm going to lose her." I stayed for a bit, trying to think of helpful things to say, or at least be a friendly presence for Alden. Then one of the machines started beeping and a nurse came in to fuss with her, so I slipped out. I thought about catching an early flight home. The wedding clearly wasn't going to happen. Teacher died Thursday night. Alden was in shock, I see. To the house as soon as I heard, and he was there, surrounded by family. His staring eyes, his pale face, he looked almost as bad as Petra had. "Do you need me to do anything for you?" I asked him. "Let people know, call things off." "No, don't call anything off. Let people know, definitely. But I hope they'll come anyway. We'll still be celebrating her life this week, and not how I'd wanted, but they should still be here for her." Most people did still come. Tickets were already bought, after all, and plans were set. They held the funeral in the wedding hall, hence they'd already rented it. It was a much more somber affair than we'd all been expecting the previous week, but it was still beautiful in its own way. A lot of people shared nice memories of Petra. Alden gave a really touching speech. Everyone's heart broke. For him, the timing of it all just added to the tragedy of the situation. We buried Petra after the ceremony. A few of us went out for quiet drinks just to reminisce for a bit, but there really wasn't much else to say. I had a red-eye flight home, so after the bar I caught a ride to the airport, hopped on my plane, and settled in for the trip home. Suddenly, I wasn't on the plane anymore. I was back in the wedding hall, only it was actually decorated for a wedding this time. Alden was standing at the altar looking fantastic in his tuxedo. His groomsmen were lined up behind him. They were all smiling, but Alden looked slightly confused, like he wasn't quite sure how he'd gotten there. The bride's procession now started playing, and I rose to my feet along with the rest of the guests, turning to the back of the hall. Teacher came walking down the aisle, one stately step at a time. Her gown trailed behind her, cascading down like a snowfall. Her veil covered her face, but I could see her eyes fixed straight ahead, locked on Alden. I heard a strangled yelp from behind me and half turned to see who made it. The altar. Alden was struggling in the grip of two of his groomsmen, "Let me go," he hissed. His whisper carried through the vaulted hall, and more heads turned to look. "Guys, me on. Let me go. No chance, Alden," came an answering whisper. I turned back. Petra was much closer to me now, and I could see details I hadn't before. The flowers in her bouquet were wilted and droopy. The hands that held them were skeleton thin in places. Petra's skin was torn, revealing desiccated muscle and the occasional glimpse of bone. Beneath her gossamer veil, her face was rotted and decay. But her eyes burned bright, pinning Alden with her gaze. "You promised me this, Alden," the whisper carried over the music, and she took a measured step forward. "You proposed to me." Another step. Her bridesmaids moved 10 times, smiles locked on their faces. Their eyes were wide with terror. "You let me believe." Step. I tried to move and couldn't. All I could do was watch. "You poisoned me, Alden." Step. She was at the foot of the altar. Now, just one small step up, separating her from Alden. He stared in fear, still writhing against the iron grip of his groomsman. "You kill." "Led me." Step, and she was in front of him. Alden opened his mouth to say something, but she placed one thin finger against his lips. "Nothing's taking this day away from me." She took the back of his head in one hand. With the other, she slowly reached up and lifted away her veil. I woke with Alden's scream echoing in my head. Apparently I screamed as well as my seat. 8 was staring at me, and a flight attendant was rushing over. I apologized and told them I was fine, and we laughed it off. That was Monday. I've been trying to reach Alden since then. No one has heard from him, and maybe he's just taking some time alone, which would be pretty reasonable, except I heard that Petra's parents are having her exhumed for a tox screen, and everyone just seems a little more worried about him than you'd expect. I kind of just want to ask if anyone else had the same dream, or if everyone else did. But then again, I don't know that I really want the answer. Story 2. My friend's new sculptures are unbelievably lifelike. VC_RAW CSS_animation equals RAW_type equals RAW use_RAW_ as_ full_screen_section equals no type equals full_width angled_section equals no text_align equals left background _image as_ pattern equals without _pattern VC_column VC_column text. I've been friends with Alan since elementary school. We lived down the block from each other and basically grew up as brothers with all of the good and bad stuff that entails. We've celebrated successes, mocked each other's failures, seen all the positives and negatives of each other for over 2 decades. So when a couple months back Alan said that he was taking up figure sculpting, I snorted. I mean, what I wrote back was cool, man. I can't wait to see it. But what I was thinking was I can't wait to see you swearing about it. Alan loves taking up new hobbies, but I've never seen one last more than 6 months. At various times in his life, he's played soccer, baseball, football, and lacrosse. He's done swimming and track. He's played at least 4 different instruments, taken up various types of painting, carried a sketchbook, and even tried his hand at whittling. He buys the supplies, is super into it for a few months, and swears he's going to make it his profession, And then as soon as it gets difficult, he drops the whole thing, and that's sort of okay. Because, Anne, I say this as the closest thing to a brother he's got. He pretty much sucks at all of them, the visual arts especially. I don't know much about sculpting, but I distinctly remember Alan's attempts at figure drawing. It was like he'd never seen a person before. I don't know what tutorials he was working off of, but he could have turned his sketches in as drawings of Slenderman, a child's doctor, drawings of the slender man, anyway, and not like a talented child. Anyway, my point is that I figured that sculpting a person would be at least as hard as drawing one, with the added difficulty of having no Washington. Why, to erase mistakes. So I was excited to see what sort of a monstrosity Alan would produce. I kept bugging him to send me pictures of the work in progress, but he would just put on a lofty air and declare that he had artistic integrity to maintain. I wasn't the only one on his case. Everyone knew his tendency to pick up and drop hobbies, and we were all giving him a hard time about it. There was even a bet going on about how much of a statue he'd get done before he quit. I said he was going to get 3/4 done. No one else was willing to go that high. Then last weekend, Alan called us all to come over. He said he was ready for the unveiling, and that we should all come over for drinks to admire his sculptures. Sculptures, plural. I was impressed and a little bit skeptic. It had only been a few months. Alan had been holding down a day job during that time, and he's never been the type to really knuckle down to get a task done. So I figured we were going to see like a couple of amorphous busts, maybe some kind of clay hand reaching up from the ground, that kind of thing. When we arrived, Alan had a curtain hanging over a section of his living room, cutting off a slice of it. There were 4 of us coming over: me, Kara, Julio, and Erica, and he insisted that the reveal would have to wait until everyone arrived. Julio was late, so while we waited for him, we cracked open drinks and made jokes about how bad the statues were going to look. Alan took it all with decently good humor. His look was slightly aggrieved and slightly smug, like he knew we'd all be eating our words in a minute. Julio arrived, and Alan dimmed the lights on our side of the living room. We all fell silent as we stared at the shadows visible on the curtain. No details were visible, but there were 4 distinct statues, and each one was life-size. These gotta be just like big rocks, right? Julio whispered to me. No way he had time to make for full statues. Before I could answer, Alan called out, "Behold," and pulled down the curtain. Our jaws dropped. At the far side of Alan's living room stood 4 perfect replicas of you, as carved out of smooth marble. The likenesses were uncanny. We each walked to the statue of ourselves and did a slow circle, examining them for flaws. Mine was perfect, right down to the slightly bent nose. He and the hitchhiker's thumb. It was astounding. Dude, said Julio, this is surreal. You did this in 2 months. I put a lot of hours in, Alan said modestly. What did you even work from as a model? Asked Erica, tracing a finger along the ridges of her statue's ear. Facebook photos. Mainly, I used a posable figure for the overall shape, then filled in the details from your photos and general observation. I've known you guys a long time, you know. Yeah, but this is something else. Erica sounded almost reverent. Thank you, Alan's tone was nothing but pride. Admit it. None of you thought I could do it. Yeah, no way, said Julio. But man, these are amazing. You found your calling, man. I want you to have them, Alan said. We all fell over ourselves protesting, exclaiming that we couldn't possibly take them. I couldn't even picture having something this incredible in my apartment. Where would I put it? Next to my Craigslist sofa in the kitchen by the card table I ate breakfast at. It belonged in a museum. Alan was insistent, though. I made these for you to prove that I can make more. I am already making more. These are for you, for being my friends and for not believing in me, so that you can see them every day and remember how wrong you were. We still tried to refuse, but when Alan brought out a dolly and started loading the statues into his van, we realized this fight was lost and pitched in to help. I snagged everyone's door keys, and Alan and I went on a quick delivery run to drop off the statues. Alan, I told him earnestly once we were alone in the van, you can't give these to us. These are museum-worthy. They're archaeologists-learning-about our culture worthy. They gotta sell them. Sell my friends, Alan laughed. Not a chance. They're going home with all of you. I'm absolutely dead set on this. It took us about an hour to hit everyone's house, wheel the statues inside, and find a decent place to display them. By the time we got back to Alan's house, the others had gone to fetch a nice bottle of whiskey and set up some sort of charcuterie board. I leave for an hour, and you all turn fancy on me, laughed Alan. Hey, you started it. Artist in residence, said Kara. We didn't know we were coming to a legitimate art opening at first. We're just trying to catch up. So what else have you done? Can we see? Asked Erica. Alan waved her away. Not yet, not yet. Nothing else is anywhere close to finished. I want it all of you to be first. Once you're on my side, then I'll go take the world by storm. We are definitely on your side, man, said Julio. We all fervently agreed. Much later, the bottle of whiskey was empty. The food was gone, and I was back at my apartment. Fumbling open the door, the first thing I saw when I stepped inside was that statue in the corner dominating the room. It practically glowed in moonlight and nearly took my breath away. I couldn't believe Alan had made this. Even in my inebriated state, it was inspiring. I was in danger of falling asleep on my feet, though, so I made my way to the bedroom, stripped down and collapsed into bed. I slept dreamlessly until my bladder woke me up, and I stumbled out of bed to go to the bathroom. When I opened my bedroom door, though, the statue was standing there, right up against the door, for all the world like it had been listening to hear if I was awake. I leapt back, shouting, and its blank gaze bored into mine. I slammed the door on it and grabbed for my phone. No one else is answering. Erica, Kara, Julio, I'm getting voicemails for all of them. I just tried Alan, and he did pick up, but what he said did anything but put my mind at ease. Just go back to sleep, he said, before I even said anything. It doesn't hurt, or if it did, it wasn't for long. I don't remember it hurting. Alan, what was all I could manage. I hoped you'd all sleep through it, he said. The others did, I think. Please just go back to sleep. It'll all be clear in the morning. That was about the time I heard the doorknob rattle, and I dropped the phone to shove the bed up against the door. When I picked it back up, Alan had hung up. Something keeps testing the door, rattling the knob and putting more and more weight against it. Trying to nudge the bed aside, I moved all the furniture in the bedroom into a blockade. But even so, I can see it starting to shift. There are no windows in here. I've got no other exit. I really am very tired. Maybe I will just go back to sleep. It'll all be clear in the morning. Story 3. The Watcher. VC_row CSS_animati. On equals row underscore type equals row use underscore row underscore as underscore full underscore screen underscore section equals no type equals full underscore width angled underscore section equals no text underscore align equals left background underscore image underscore as underscore pattern equals without underscore pattern VC underscore column underscore text. I got fired today. I can't fault my boss for it. He called me in for the monthly review, just like every month, and asked me to show him what I've been working on. I opened up my mouth to tell him and realized I had absolutely no idea. Literally, I couldn't think of a single thing I'd done at work for the past month. Valdez, my boss, gave me a puzzled look when I didn't respond immediately. Your projects, sire, how are they going? Do you need any help? Additional resources? I can't remember what I've been doing, I told him. Probably not the wisest admission, but I was kind of in shock. It wasn't like I was missing the last month. I remembered my life, my evenings, even events from work, conversations with coworkers, things like that. But I could not think of any work I'd actually done. What is that supposed to mean? He asked me. I don't know what I've been working on. You can't possibly have done nothing all month. When I didn't say anything, his expression shifted slowly from disbelief to anger. Are you really telling me you just sat around all month? No, I don't think so. But I spread my hand. Helplessly, Valdez stood up from his desk. Show me your computer. We walked to my office. I loaded up Android Studio. All of the projects visible were ones I'd worked on in previous months. Valdez leaned over me and pulled you to the local history, but that only confirmed what I already knew. The last edit date on any of those was in January. Sigh, what is this, man? I've seen you working on stuff. Where is it? I'm telling you, I don't know. I can't remember. If I was working on it, it should be here. Yeah, said Valdez. I know. He paused, then said, Washington. Have you been freelancing on company time? No. Dude, don't you dare dude me rig. HT. Now, either you've spent an entire month slacking off, which is incredibly unacceptable, or you've been selling work outside of the company. Why, which is even worse, Valdez, either way. He continued, talking over me. I'm terminating you effective immediately. Get your stuff and get out. I tried desperately to explain myself, even though I didn't know what was going on. You've got to. The only thing I've got to do is watch you to make sure you don't walk out of here with any company property. Man, you know I wouldn't do that. Last month, I would have agreed with that. Yeah, now I don't know. He hovered over me like a storm cloud while I cleaned out my desk, packed up my stuff, and turned my key card in at the front desk. at the front door. I turned back to him. Valdez, man, I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you what was going on. If you need a refer, Ence, he said stonily, contact me with some sort of an explanation first as to what exactly happened, and we'll see, and that was it. I didn't even get to say goodbye to my coworkers. I guess they'll leave whatever Valdez ends up telling them, that I got fired for being total dead weight, I suppose. I went home and just sort of stared at the wall for a while, trying to get my thoughts together. How could I lose a month's work? I'm not the kind of guy who could sit around doing nothing for 8 to 10 hours a day. I don't even take vacations longer than a weekend because I get antsy not having enough to do. I had to have been doing something, but whatever it was just not there. Then this afternoon, I came across a document in the auto backup folder of my Google Drive. It was called changelog.txt, and although it's definitely my style of notes, I don't recognize a single word of it. Story 4. These are the lies we tell. VC_RAW CSS_animation equals RAW_type equals RAW. Use_row_as_full_screen_section equals no type equals full_width angled section equals no text_align equals left background _image _as_pattern equals without _pattern VC_column VC_column _text. The dog ran away today. It's an easy lie, a simple one, believable, no one questions it. Everyone knows how dogs are. There's some work to follow through on it, of course. Walking around the neighborhood yelling, whistling, putting UT posters, fielding calls from people who claim to have seen the dog, which they haven't, obviously, but I have to play along for the kids. It's sad to watch the hope flare and fade in their faces, but what's the alternative? The truth wouldn't make them any happier. The dog ran away. I'm cleaning the tools in the shed. Barely even a lie, really, omission. If anything, the shovel did need to be cleaned, and the dent hammered out of the corner where it struck a rock, and obviously the axe had to be sharpened. So why not give the other tools a once-over while I'm out there? It's window dressing. But that's important. Setting the stage appropriately stops people from asking questions, and that saves all sorts of trouble down the line. The less you say, the less you have to remember. The stupid dog ran away. I was out cleaning the tools in the shed. Your mother and I aren't fighting. How can children understand adult relationships? Tension doesn't mean to people don't love each other. If anything, it means they love each other too intensely. It's easy to shrug and walk away from someone you don't care about. Much harder to see someone you love going down the wrong path. I am anything but distant. No matter her accusations, I am deeply invested in this family. I sacrifice to protect it. My honor, myself. I will give it all. We'll talk about ting another dog. The lock on the shed is to keep you safely away from dangerous tools. Your mother and I aren't fighting, but she's gone to stay with your grandmother for a little while. Why do things get so complicated here? At least is one designed to reduce questions. Everyone knows what staying with her mother is code for. Not the children, of course, but they still think that the dog ran away. Everyone else just sees me putting on a brave face. I think they respect me for raising the kids without her. I didn't want this. Everything I've done has been to protect this family, to keep it together. I don't know why she couldn't see that. I never wanted to be in this position. At least it's winter, and the shed won't start to smell for a little while. She's taken the kids, condensing all other lies fold into this one. There's no one left to care about the dog, no one to ask about the tools. No one asks for details on this. It invariably gets a grimace and an awkward apology. Meanwhile, I can take a deep breath for the first time since the dog ran away. Funny how easily that line comes now. Even when I don't need to say it, it's just what comes to mind. My time is my own again. Time to watch TV. Time to work in the yard. Time to dig holes without anyone asking why or what for, or why don't you pay attention to us? I pay so much attention. Everything is about you. Even this, even now. Isn't family supposed to be about happiness and togetherness? We're happier now, and we'll always be together. She really was going to leave, tear this family apart. I couldn't have that. I kept us together. She got full custody. That's the dog's grave. Omission again, it is the dog's grave. If you dig down, you'll find the dog. I don't know what kind of sick-minded person would dig into a dog's grave, but you can never be too careful these days. People ask a lot of questions, stick their nose into other people's business. So if you dig down, you'll find a dog, and you'll be ashamed of yourself and cover it back up, which means that you won't dig a few more feet down to see what else might be there. I'm not ashamed. I'm just not stupid. The world runs on polite fictions. These are the lies we tell. Story 5, Lost and Found, VC_RA CSS_animation equals RAW_type equals RAW use_RAW_ as_ full_ screen_section equals note type equals full_ width angled_ section equals no text_align equals left background _image as_ pattern equals without _pattern VC_column VC_column_ text. It started as a joke. My wife and I host a lot of parties, and if you've ever done cleanup after a party, you know that people leave things behind, hats and coats constantly, scarves, purses, whatever. One time I found a pair of prescription glasses stuck in between the couch cushions. They were thick. Lenses, too. Like Velma thick. I don't know how the owner made it out of the front door without them, let alone how they drove home. A lot of the time we'll get a call the next day or the next week. Someone going, "Hey, so I haven't seen my jacket lately. Did I leave it at your place?" But sometimes no one claims it, and Jenny's my wife, we aren't about to call everyone who was at the party to ask if they're missing or whatever we've found. So we just chuck it in a wooden chest we've got in the closet and leave it there until someone does come looking. So recently we had a winter party, and someone left their pants here. Now, it was not that kind of party, so I was pretty surprised to find a pair of pants laying around afterward. They were snow pants, the kind you wear over your other clothes to keep them warm and dry, and they were folded up and stored in a corner. I figured that probably someone had shown up in them to stay warm, then taken them off once they got inside. Between the warmth of the house and the warmth of the alcohol, they must have forgotten to put them back on when they left at the end of the night. Jenny flipped through her pictures from the evening, but didn't have any shots of anyone wearing those pants. So into the trunk they went. As Jenny was tossing them in, she commented, "I bet we could clothe a whole person with what's in here." We laughed, but then I got to thinking that she was probably re-GT. So later on, I dug through the trunk and sure enough, in addition to the pants, we had a button-down shirt, multiple jackets, several hats, a pair of gloves, a couple of scarves, and 2 pairs of shoes. While Jenny was out of the house that night, I put the shirt on a hanger, hung the jacket over it, clipped the gloves to the sleeves and the pants to the bottom, and wrapped a scarf round it. Then I hung the whole thing up in the hallway, plopped a hat on top, and put the shoes beneath it. The pants hung just to the ground, so at first glance it really did look like someone lurky NG there, especially with the lights off. I heard the door slam when Jenny got home. She started to call out a greeting, but it abruptly cut off in a shriek. I came into the hallway, laughing, to find Jenny standing there with a hand to her chest, glaring at me. The clothes dummy swung quietly off to the side. "Real funny," she said. "You about gave me a heart attack." "I'm very sorry," I said, but I was laughing much too hard for her to believe me. "Yeah, you will be," she said with mock seriousness, but she was laughing too, now that she was past the initial shock. Anyway, I thought that was all extremely funny right up until I got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet. I walked into the bathroom, turned on the lights, and shouted out loud because Jenny had moved my clothes dummy into the bathroom and posed it sitting on the toilet. From the bedroom, I heard sleepy laughter. "Do you know what happens when you scare someone who's on his way to the bathroom?" I demanded. "Rags are under the sink. Clean up whatever you need to," Jenny called back. "A lesser man would have to clean up. I have iron self-control," I told her. "Is that why you screamed loudly enough to wake me up?" She teased. I didn't dignify that with a response. Also, I didn't have one, so this became a thing. Jenny and I would move the dummy around, and after a while it wasn't even to scare each other anymore. We named him Albert, and he was just a feature of the house after a few weeks. We'd put him in the kitchen, the dining room, wherever. I came home a couple of days ago to find the clothes slumped in my chair in front of the TV, with one of my beers in his glove. I just got another beer and took a seat on the couch. Jenny came in lot and said, "You're not going to move him. He was here first." I shrugged. "You're ridiculous," Jenny told me, and took Albert's beer. "He's not going to hell like that," I said. Jenny laughed. "What's he going to do about it?" That was a couple of days ago. Like I said, yesterday I came home to find Albert hanging by the picture window at the back of the house. His clothes were splashed with something red, and there was a dripping knife wedged in one of his gloves. It was a pretty gruesome sight, and I applauded Jenny's ingenuity. "Did he get you, honey?" I called. No response, obviously. She wasn't about to give up the joke that easily. "Hey, the stuff is dripping onto the floor," I said loudly enough for her to hear me. Wherever she was hiding, I think it staining the carpet. Still nothing, so I got a paper towel and wiped up the blood, then took Albert's knife away from him. Whatever Jenny had used really did look like blood, and I was starting to get uncomfortable. Honey, okay, you got me. Joke's over. Still no response. So I went looking. I went through the entire house and couldn't find her anywhere. Her car was out front. Boo. Jenny was just missing. I called her phone, but it rang through to voicemail. When she still hadn't shown up by midnight, I was starting to get panicked. I'd called a few friends, but no one had heard from her. I decided to get a few hours of sleep and then figure out what to do in the morning. I laid down, turned out the lights, and was falling asleep when I heard a slight noise in the hallway. I opened my eyes to see Jenny in the doorway. Where have you been? I started turning on the lights, but my voice died in my throat. It wasn't Jenny, it was Albert, hanging from the doorway of my room, swaying slightly back and forth above his shoes. The knife was back in his hand. My heart was hammering. This was obviously just Jenny taking a joke too far, but when I called out for her again and she didn't answer, my fears spiked. I took those clothes down, carried them downstairs, and even though I knew it was totally illogical, I burned them in the fireplace. I expected Jenny to come out to laugh at me once I got the fire going, or at least to chide me for stinking up the house. I don't know what they pack snow pants with, but it smells terrible. And you burn it. But the fire burned down to ashes, and I was still alone. I slept for a bit, and when I left for work this morning, there was still no sign of Jenny, and she still wasn't answering her phone. I called the police to report her missing, and they're supposed to be sending someone over to take a look around and interview me. I guess I hope they get here soon, because I just heard a noise from upstairs, and when I went up to look, the door to our walk-in closet was standing open. Hanging from the bars, aligned into neat rows, were a dozen of Jenny's outfits, shirts on the hangers, pants clipped below, shoes lined up. Underneath, the bedroom door only locks from the inside, but I closed it and used my tie to tie the knob to the banister in the hallway. I was going to leave the house, but there's a coat rack by the door, and I really don't think I lined my shoes up underneath it like that when I got home. I hope the police get here soon. Store Y6, the def, VC_RAW CSS_animation equals RAW_type equals RAW. Use_RAW_ as _full_screen_section equals no type equals full_with angled_section equals no text _align equals eft background _image as_pattern equals without _pattern VC_column VC_column_text. We called it the def. It was supposed to be a joke. We had a game, the group of us. It didn't really have a name. It was just the cryptid game. It was simple. Every time we got together, one of us had to share a monster story. That was basically it. We'd started it back in college and just sort of never stopped. There were more rules than that, of course. It had to be original. No more than one story introduced per get-together. Whoever had the best monster was winning. All of these rules were unspoken, but we all understood them. They'd evolved over the years to create the friendly rivalry of the cryptid game. It kept us in touch, gave us something to talk about when we saw each other, and it was always fun to hear someone else reference your monster, either in a new story or just in standard conversation. I made up a bunch over the years, most of them ridiculous. The cord goblin, an obnoxious electrical creature that can travel through wires and which ties unattended cords into knots. The skulk, a gelatinous creature the color of seawater which lurks in the ocean and generates that unpleasant pulse you sometimes feel when you realize you have no idea what's below you. Halitus, a bent shadow which breathes into your mouth at night. I was really winning the game. But every time I went swimming in deep water, I thought about the skulk, and I know the others did too. That was all I wanted out of the game, to give my friends the man, what if, moment. The others took different approaches. Jennifer just went with whatever news article she'd happened across at the time, spinning it into something unearthly. Alex, too, was all over the map with no clear thread between any of her creatures. Rebecca, on the other hand, always started her stories the same way, deep in the unexplored jungles. She was big on lost tribes and creatures forgotten by time, less likely for anyone to think about on a daily basis than mine, but more likely to actually be real, well, more possible, anyway. Likely is a bit of a stretch. Emmanuel-like insects, psionic beetles that lived in the roof beams of houses, putting out stressful emanations and feeding on the resultant fights and negative emotions from the families below. Gnats that laid eggs and tiered ducts so that the maggots could wriggle their way into the sinus cavity, hiding safely and feeding off of the mucus until they grew into their adult form. His were usually good for a serious shudder, more so if you had a particularly vivid imagination. They weren't out of the realm of possibility. Either bugs and parasites have some weird life cycles and some terrifying adaptations. And Connor liked predators, big things, scary things that moved among humans, hunting them. His creations were responsible for the lost pets, the missing children, the runaways. Like Rebecca's, his stories always started the same way. So picture this thing. He had a rich Scottish accent which somehow gave his monsters more vibrancy, more life. They were the least likely of our stories, because they were the sort of monsters that someone would have to notice by now, but when you were alone in the darkness, logic like that didn't matter. That's where Connor's stories would always come back to home. If he had a failing, it was that his cryptids never had a name. They were always just this thing, which left it up to the rest of us to name. We would invariably come up with the most ridiculous name we could think of, undercutting the story. He told us one about an underground hive of man-sized wasps, networked across miles. They would steal cavers and solitary hikers, dragging them down to serve as food and hosts for the larvae. Connor was waxing eloquent about the hive structure when Rebecca suggested that we could call them beasts, and we all broke up laughing. Even Connor was a good sport about it. The deaf was another one of his, a fairly recent one. It was something like a giant boar. Picture this thing, only with the grace and speed of a tiger. It stood 5 feet high at the shoulder, and its mouth could unhinge like a snake's in order to scoop up its prey and capture it in a gnashing cavern of knives. It once lived in forested areas, but as civilization expanded, it found richer hunting grounds in cities. It evaded detection, Connor told us, through its speed and sleekness of motion. Despite its size, it could slide undetected into alleys behind cars and any of 1,000 overlooked urban hiding places it slept during the day and hunted at night, when its dark coat provided camouflage in the darkness. The most terrifying thing about it, though, was that it absorbed sound. Things grew quieter, and it was nearby, dropping to utter silence in its immediate presence. You might never see it coming, but you would know it was there right before it took you, because you would feel like you'd gone completely deaf. I had asked, mimicking Connor's brogue, and Rebecca exclaimed, "Ed, the deaf." Connor rolled his eyes at us and said, smiling, "Fine, the deaf, you reprobates. Call it whatever name you like. You won't be calling it anything when it comes for you. Absurd name or not, though, the deaf was one of his best ones. It stuck with me strongly. I could picture its thick, bristly fur, see its bloody snout with the expandable lower jaw. I could even visualize the way its flanks would heave as it ran, streaking silently down city sidewalks in pursuit of prey that had no reason to look behind. No idea that anything was there at all. The deaf kept me looking over my shoulder. For weeks after Connor introduced it, it wasn't just me either. Emmanuel confessed that he'd started using his flashlight on the walk from his car to his apartment building, in case the deaf was concealing itself in one of the shadows. I don't really think it's there, obviously, he told us. But then again, it doesn't cost me anything to turn on my phone's flashlight. And that was exactly it. Obviously, it wasn't real, but at night, alone in the dark, what if? That was the fun of the cryptid game. Except that the other night, I was texting with Alex while she was walking home from the corner store. "Quiet night out here," she texted me. "The city's so different at night." "Yeah," I sent back. "Whole different animal once everyone goes to sleep. It's even quieter than usual tonight." "Deaf quiet?" I asked. Yeah. Bunch of shadows, too. Could definitely be a deaf around. Well, good luck. Been nice knowing you. That was a few days ago. Emmanuel called me yesterday morning to ask when I'd last talked to Alex. I checked my phone and saw that was the last conversation we'd had yet. No one's heard from her since then, he said, sounding worried. "I'm going out looking for her after work today. Come help me. We'll go from her apartment to the bodega, see if we can find anything." "What are we looking for?" "I don't know anything." "She's missing," I assured him I'd come help after work. We met up by her apartment and started walking. I still had no idea what I was looking for. The streets looked like streets. There was trash, graffiti, paint, dirt, the usual. Emmanuel and I did a slow walk to the store, scanning every alley as we went. By the time we reached the store, the sun had dropped behind buildings. "Now what?" I asked Emmanuel. "Check again on the way back, I guess. See if we missed anything." I thought about pointing out that if we hadn't seen anything earlier, we certainly weren't going to now that it was darker, but he had a desperate look on his face. So I shut up, and we started the walk back. Halfway there, we still hadn't seen any sign. Manuel started shouting into Alice, "Alex, what are you doing? Maybe she's hurt." "I don't know, Alex." "Shut up." Someone yelled from an apartment above us, and I ushered Emmanuel on. At the next alley, though, he called out for her again, "Alex." There was no answer, obviously. Even he knew there wouldn't be. It was written on his face. This went on for a few blocks, with only 2 more blocks to go. Emmanuel's shouts were starting to sound. "Hopeless, Alex," he called out, but he was barely even bothering to raise his voice now. "Maybe we can," I began, but stopped dead. I could barely hear my own voice. Emmanuel and I turned toward each other, the same realization hitting both of us. "Emmanuel, what's—" I saw it then, looming out of the alley behind him like a striking snake. It came from nowhere, seeming to rise out of the bricks themselves, standing nearly as tall as us, its mouth already gaping open in anticipation of its meal. Its hooved feet skimmed silently across the ground as it raced towards us. I tried to call out to warn Emmanuel to move, but not a sound emerged from my throat. It took Emmanuel behind the knees, knocking him over, to land flailing in its massive mouth. Powerful muscles flexed, and the jagged pouch closed around him. It convulsed, crushing and grinding Emmanuel inside. I could see the bulges where his body distended its gullet. It swallowed, and the throat tightened, swallowed again, and it grew smaller still. A third time, and it was back to normal size. It had consumed Emmanuel in seconds. He was gone. Not even a drop of blood remaining, and all of this had happened in total, horrible silence. Its meal finished, the death lowered its head and looked me directly in the eyes. I saw hunger there, but after a moment of regard, it melted away into the alley. I never blinked, but still I lost sight of it within seconds. I don't remember how I got home last night. I don't know why the deaf let me go at all, but I remember the look in those eyes, and I know that I've been marked. The sun's dropping in the sky again. I have every light on already. The door is locked. It's a huge beast. Surely it can't get in here. The city gets quiet at night. Story 7. Mr. Ghost. In the spring of 1953, when I was 9 years old, I saw my brother die. I'll remember that date for the rest of my life. The memory has never left me, and it never will. Part of it is the trauma, the slow, insidious realization that he was gone, that crept into my life afterward. But there is more to it that I don't talk about. I've held on to it for years, and I don't want to hold on to it any longer. It was the 10th of April. School had just finished, and Charlie and I were walking home like we always did. Those were good times. Mom always had a snack waiting for us. Good old cookies and milk. Charlie was the kind of kid with a smile that could leg HT up a room. He was a year above me, but he seemed to be full of more energy than I could have mustered. Outside, we'd play superheroes, like the ones in the comic books. He was always Captain America, and I was Bucky Barnes, with wild ginger hair, freckles, and sparkling green eyes. He didn't look like much of a superhero, but he sure knew the part well. Oft, our snack, he'd grab the garbage can lid, and I'd grab my BB gun, and we'd go out to fight the bad guys on the front lawn. We'd been hoping to play like that when we got home, and Lee was ahead of me, looking back and yelling for me to keep up. "Come on, Felix, Mom's waiting." I remember the smile on his face. I remember seeing that green 1953 Chevy Corvette around the corner behind him as it came barreling down the road. For a moment, I didn't think much of it. Why should I have? The Corvette should have passed us by with no issue. Sure, he was going a little fast, but there should have been nothing to worry about. Charlie turned to look as he heard the scream of rubber on asphalt. I can only imagine he was admiring the Corvette, we used to think they were the coolest. When I heard the bang of the tire, I didn't know what it was. At first, the plume of debris was a little shocking, and it distracted me just long enough to realize that the Corvette was headed our way. I caught a glimpse of the driver's face, which had frozen into a panicked look as he tried to regain control of his car. Charlie didn't even have time to move. The Corvette jumped the curb, hitting him head-on. He was thrown back like a tow as the Corvette went over the sidewalk and down into the shallow ditch beside us, burying him beneath it. I had felt nothing but the wind as it had sailed past me, and heard nothing but the scrape of metal. Tossing my backpack to the ground, I ran towards the wreckage to tend to my brother. I could still see his face contorted into a mask of agony. The Corvette was crushing his lower half, and you could tell he was in pain from his screams. Those screams still haunt me today. I was unable to speak. His pained howls made speaking almost useless. I stole a glance inside the sports Corvette. The windshield was cracked, and I saw blood. The driver wouldn't be helping us any time soon. Felix, I could hear his voice, fragile and pained. Help, please. The tears streamed down his cheeks, and I didn't want to leave him. But I knew there was no choice. I ran back up to the side of the road and looked for a passing car, somebody to help us. Anybody. Only moments ago there had been other cars on the street, but now everybody was gone. The world seemed dimmer. The sunlight seemed to be cutting through a thick fog that had not been there before. There was no sound other than Charlie's screams, which quickly subsided into whimpers. I looked around frantically. In the distance, I could see a figure in the fog. I waved at him and yelled, "Hey, mister, we need help, please." The figure in the distance didn't come any faster. I called out for him again, waving my arms to grab his attention. "Sir, please come fast. We need help." I looked down at Charlie. He was so horribly pale. His hands on the grill of the crashed car, teeth that pinned him. From behind me, I heard a high and squeaky voice. "Well, ain't that a little bit of a predicament?" I jumped and looked in the direction of the voice. It was the man. From the distance, how had he gotten here so fast by just walking? Had he run towards us when I wasn't looking? He was dressed all in black, a heavy black coat, a black fedora, and black leather glove. He looked like a businessman on his way home from work. "Sir," I said, my voice shaking, "please, we need to call somebody, a hospital, something." The man laughed. It was such a free sound, and it filled me with rage. How could he laugh at a moment like this? "My dear boy, a hospital won't save your friend now." "Oh, no, I'm afraid he's a little too injured for that." "What do you mean?" I asked, panicked. "Well, your friend is going to die, I'm afraid," the man said. "But that's why I'm here." He extended a gloved hand towards me. I didn't shake it. All I could do was stare. When I didn't move, he patted my shoulder and brushed past me, making his way down the ditch and towards the car, moving casually, as if Charlie's cries for help meant nothing to him. I didn't have the capacity to speak, trying to process all he had said. I wasn't sure if this man was insane or sincere. He knelt down beside my brother, his smile carefree and infectious. "Don't worry, dear boy," he said, caressing Charlie's forehead. And just like that, he stopped his tormented shrieks. His body went limp, and he let out an almost relaxed sigh. There, Let us get you out of this awful place." The man grabbed Charlie by his arms and gave him a sharp pull. I opened my mouth to protest, but before I could say anything, the deed was done. Charlie had been pulled out from under the car in one piece, and he was standing there like nothing happened. I called his name and reached out to hug him, but the man stood between us, blocking my way. "I see. Can't allow that," he warned me. "I'm sorry." "Why not?" I begged, and his expression turned solemn. "You aren't supposed to be here. My work isn't exactly for prying eyes, but here you are all the same. I don't question the why of it. Sometimes these things just are, and there's purpose in everything. Besides, I really don't mind the company, but I can't allow you tea. Oh, touch him. He is no longer of your world." Charlie didn't say anything to me. He didn't even look at me. His eyes had a dead, ignorant look to them. The man brushed past me and opened the door of the fallen car. He thrust his hand in and pulled the driver from his seat. He was only a teenager, but I was horrified when I saw him. His neck was bent at an impossible angle. I could see bones pressed against the skin. His neck had to have been broken. He shouldn't have been alive. The man remained indifferent to the seemingly fatal wound on the driver and simply placed his hands on his cheeks and, with a sudden movement, jerked his head back into place. There was a sickening crack. "All better," he said sweetly, and looked at me. "What happens to me? I scared." He'd said that Charlie was going to die, and the driver was clearly dead, too. But then, if I was seeing him, was I also dead? Was he going to hurt me for seeing him? Whatever exactly he was. "Oh, I'm not going to hurt you, and you're very much alive, Felix," he said, and offered a warm smile. I hadn't said anything to him. How did he know what I was thinking? I was too stunned to speak. Very rarely do humans see me. They don't want to see me and what I do. What do you do?" I asked, my voice shaking. It was just one of a million questions I had. "Well, I am something of a chauffeur," he said. "I pick people up and I drop them off. I'll be picking you up one day, too." "How do you know my name?" I stammered. He didn't reply. He smiled, and he took the hands of both Charlie and the teenage driver. "Don't you worry about it. That won't be for a while. For now, I've got to run. I'm a very busy man, you know." With that, he led both Charlie and the driver back up to the road. A black car was waiting there. It hadn't been there before. An older model that later in life I'd recognize as a 1935 December convertible. He put Charlie and the driver into the back seat before climbing behind the wheel. The last I saw of him was a friendly wave he gave me before he drove off. That was it. I sat down on the grass, my back to the car, and started to cry. I looked down at where Charlie had been, and to my surprise, he was still there. But he wasn't screaming. He wasn't even moving. He lay there, pinned beneath the vehicle. Why, his eyes staring vacantly up into the sky. I was still in the ditch when the police came, and when they took Charlie away. I remember watching them take the driver of the car out, too. His neck was broken, the exact same way it had been when that man had taken him out earlier, but nobody just cracked his head back into place. The wound had been as fatal as I'd thought. I had no idea what I witnessed until much later. Even today, I'm still not so sure. Every now and then I'll be driving down the road, and I'll see a car accident, Parked right beside the police cars is a black Duesenberg convertible. I don't think anybody else sees it. Once I saw the same gaunt man, and I swore he looked at me and winked. I've taken to referring to him as Mr. Ghost. It's the only name that seems to fit the man. On the streets, sometimes I'll see the car driving past, Mr. Ghost's car. I assume he's on his way to other business. People are always dying, you know. I learned a lot about the world that day, maybe more than most people know. I learned about the methods of death, but every day I wake up, I'm thankful not to see him standing over my bed, hand extended and careful. A grin on his face. I know that is what's going to happen one day, and I just hope I'm ready when it does.